She was here. We told you about her coffee plight this morning.
I made it.
But she made it. That's right. It's Alison Mountford from Ends and Stems. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
Welcome back. Great to see you as well. Now, I strolled in here this morning because, you know, I kind of sashay and stroll my way all around this studio. It's disturbing, really. But I walked in. I said, it smells like heaven, but it was the candy that I smelled because she's going to be making candy-topped apple bars. What do we need to know?
Yeah. So picture it's 3 to 6 weeks from now, and you have a stash of candy left over, but you can't bear to just bite into it as it is. You need to reinvent it.
Love it.
And as you know, with Ends and Stems, that's what I do. I reinvent leftovers. So we're going to make a dish with it.
Right. I see the candy. I see the pretzels. I see an apple here. What do we need to know about the ingredients?
Well, if we're going to eat this much candy, we're going to try to balance it out with one apple.
So healthy.
So just so you don't feel like you're still eating candy. But no, in all seriousness, we're going to kind of go bland and salty for the base, and then add some apples to it, and then top it with the candy.
Bland.
Candy.
Well, go ahead with the candy.
Yeah, candy is one of the hardest things to reinvent because it's so specific and unique, and you can recognize it.
Totally. Bland and salty, just like my personality. Thank
Exactly.
you. But for you, this is where it really kind of all begins. Repurposing, doing that kind of stuff. We've been working with you with Ends and Stems for a long time. You can kind of have some fun and get creative and change up your approach through something as simple as this.
Exactly. Food that you have at home is the most sustainable food to eat. It's the freest food to eat because you already bought it. It's already in your house. So there are lots of great reasons not to let food go to waste, and that's what I want to teach everybody.
Outstanding. How's everything going at Ends and Stems?
Things are great. We're teaching an online course to help families get dinner on the table more easily.
Awesome.
Strategies for grocery shopping, just to make the whole thing easier.
Because you really want to be efficient, especially for those folks out there with families. Time is of the essence.
Right. You know that feeling at 3 p.m. when you go, ooh, I still didn't decide what's for dinner. So how can you make dinner with what's in your
Candy for dinner. How about that?
Yeah,
It's like drop the Butterfinger right into the burner. Well, as I try to fish this out of here, Alison will continue to do her thing. Thank you for being with us.
We'll see you soon. Thanks
Always
for
a pleasure. You don't want to miss the preparation of the candy-topped apple bars. So much fun. You're going to love it. Back to you.
We're back in the Rhode Show kitchen, and man, oh man, I have a sweet tooth like nobody's business. We've got some candy-topped apple bars on the menu. Alison Mountford's here from Ends and Stems. She's also driving around with a skeleton in the front, just so everybody. It's
prepping for the trunk or treat.
Prepping for the trunk or treat.
You know,
All right,
don't pull me over.
Don't pull her over. What do we got to do?
Do you have a favorite?
So if I would go with the M&Ms. If you had Reese's here, I probably would have gone with.
They're pretty good too.
Yeah.
I did keep the peanut butter out of this, so this is where I wanted to start today, actually. So, you know, as I do, we're using up leftovers, things that go to waste, and everybody 6 weeks from now is going to be burnt out on their Halloween candy.
Not everybody.
So here's my strategy. This is like the umbrella strategy. Things that are chocolate and caramel, you can put a few in the freezer, and then when you need them in March, they'll actually taste fresher than if you just left them in your pantry.
Alison, I'm admitting to you right now, I've had candy bars in my desk upstairs. They may have been a year or more old, and I've gone and had a chocolate fit, and I've opened the drawer, and I'm like, oh, this is perfectly fine.
They don't taste as good. Pop them in the freezer, and I promise, in March, you're going to be calling me up to thank me. Things that are sugary can last a lot longer.
Got it.
But if you want to kind of reinvent them, that's what we're doing today. So we're adding some apples, and I have a crackery crust. So that's what we're going to make now. So you have flour and sugar. We're just going to make it right in this pan so we don't have to dirty up two things. And I have very clean hands, and I'm adding Ritz crackers.
Got it.
So just something, and you can dump the sugar in too. Just a little bit of sugar, because otherwise it will be off balance.
Okay.
So we're doing this right in this dish, so we don't have to use two containers.
This is great to do with your kids as well.
They would love this. My kids were thrilled because they got to see us open 15 pieces of candy at the same time. So it was a good project for them. So in the recipe, I have them using an 8x8 or a 9x9, but I have that one in the oven because I'm going to show you what happens after this goes in the oven for 20 minutes. And then this is it.
Those out.
You just press this in.
Yep.
That's it. And then we're going to pop this in the oven.
Okay.
Pretend I did that.
Okay, I'm pretending.
And then that'll go in for 20 minutes.
Got it.
Super easy. Next step, we're going to slice up our apples. So I have 2 apples here, whatever variety you have.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what kind of apple.
It really
use.
doesn't.
Okay.
It really doesn't. And I slice them really thinly so we can leave the skin on. But if you prefer, you could take the skin off. I think it adds a nice bit of color, and I don't mind it. And also, it's less work.
What'd you just put in there?
That's a little bit of flour. This will help thicken up the apples so they're not really juicy. It'll thicken up anything that kind of drips out from the apples.
Got it.
We don't want a mushy crust.
Right.
And then this is a little bit of fancy sea salt. So the strategy here is to kind of temper the sweetness and the overwhelming, sugar in all of the candy with a salty, bland crust with the crackers, and then more salt in the apples. And then we're going to do pretzels on top as well. Here, let's
fantastic.
pull. Now, I would layer the apples in. I had to do
Oh.
this one in advance so you can see it here. This is after about another 15 minutes of the apples cooking.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And now we're going to finish this off. So in here, I have pretzels chopped up.
Yep.
You can use either type. I kind of like the way that the little pretzels end up looking because then you get all these,
Right.
you know, cool wavy moments on the crust.
On the crust.
But if this is all you have, you can use these too. So I chop these up, and then I chop the candy up. So again, I went for caramel, nougat, Butterfinger, anything kind of, you know, melty and chocolatey. And then we stir
those
this
up.
together. And we're going to add just a little bit of melted butter to bind this up.
Got it.
So this is what you would normally do with like an oat topping.
Yep. To hold it all together.
To hold it all together.
Okay.
And then we're going to use the oven to help hold it together as well. So we'll sprinkle this right on top.
I like this.
Yeah, it reinvents it just enough. So you could actually serve these at a party, or, you know, it's easier to kind of share with everybody. And it's just a fun change when you've already eaten mountains of candy, you know, over the next couple weeks. The one thing I did try, because I wanted to be able to talk about it today, I tried these in advance to see if I could freeze them, which, you know, is one of my favorite storage techniques. Can't recommend it this time.
Okay.
I almost always do, but they ended up a little bit soggy, and they really, really taste great hot from the oven.
I bet.
So this would be the kind of one, you know, if you want to make this later, freeze the candy, and then make this whole recipe
it
later.
All right, for anyone who doesn't know about ends and stems, I mean, I know you can go online and check out some of the recipes that you have.
Yep. So I teach people how to make dinner with less stress.
Right.
No food waste recipes. You know, I always talk about sustainability.
Right.
If we're wasting food, you waste all the water and the labor and the oil and the refrigerant and everything that went into it. Also, money.
Right.
You already bought the food.
Right.
It's in your
It's
house.
a ton of waste.
So
you know what I mean?
it's just eat it.
Right.
So I help people reinvent their recipes.
That's the finished product of it.
This is what the finished one looks like. So I just popped that back in the
Get down to
oven.
let's get down to business. Here we go. Give this a try. Thank you.
I popped that back in the oven for
This is
5
great.
minutes, and it will help melt the chocolate together.
Oh.
And the apple kind of balances out, but you don't really notice the apple too much.
No.
It's not an overwhelming amount of apple.
That's fantastic. If you would like the recipe for this or find ends and stems, you can head on over to our website, rhodeshow.com. This is delicious.